welcome back to my channel. It's Hillary Jubilee. I am a 2-time certified life coach. I have a Facebook group and I do offer coaching, and the information for those is in the description box down below. Here on my channel, if you're new, we talk about manifestation, conscious creation, and the law of assumption here. Today's video is about how I manifested a breakup. So this was about 6 or 7 years ago, maybe more. This was probably 7 or 8 years ago. And this, looking back, so I did not know about the law of assumption at the time at all. I had seen The Secret, so I knew I was still into thoughts become things at that time, but I did not know to the magnitude of how thoughts create your reality, and definitely had no perception of state of being, which I think is really important. Anyways, my state of being in relation to that relationship was I did not feel good enough. I was constantly worried about losing him. I actually said to him out loud that I was scared to lose him. And, you know, looking back on it, it's so obvious how I created it. And, you know, it's this dual nature of things where it's like, it doesn't excuse the actions that somebody else took, but, you know, Ho'oponopono, which is, you know, I have a video on Ho'oponopono, and, you know, just taking 100% responsibility for your reality and for your life. And, you know, but at the same time, not taking on the guilt, shame, or blame for things that other people have done. Anyways, so I just can look back and see how clearly I created the whole situation. You know, there was a girl who she was like a frenemy kind of. And, you know, I always felt jealous, and I always felt like, you know, he's doing something with her behind my back, and was always like asking him about it. He would come home with like makeup on his shirt, like she had been crying, like just he was hanging out with her, and I was just always in my mind like, oh my god, like he's cheating on me, he's doing this, he's doing that. Like I was always worried about it and always felt insecure. And, you know, looking back on it, it's the best thing that ever happened to me, because I wouldn't want to still be in that situation. But my state of being in relation to the relationship was so needy. Like I needed him for my happiness. And what would I do if he left? I would be nothing without him. And, you know, I placed all of my worth and my happiness on this person. And, you know, we do that. We place our worth and happiness on outside things, you know, and we do it over and over again until we learn that that's not the way, right? So that was a very extreme example of doing that. And yeah, and long story short, he ended up leaving me for that girl, and he cheated on me with multiple people, and I thought my life was over, and all my friends were his friends. So when we did break up, I was pretty much alone. It was the hardest time one of the hardest times of my life. And, you know, looking back, I can see that I manifested it, not knowing it in the moment. But, you know, those inner conversations are so important. You know, how are you telling the story in your mind? And obviously I wouldn't change anything now going back, because I'm happy with my current boyfriend. My SP is my boyfriend. And yeah, obviously I wouldn't change anything now, but it's funny to look back on previous situations in your life and just, I mean, sometimes you can't tell how you created them, and it has nothing to do with your thoughts and more to do with your state of being. Because if you're constantly feeling like you're not enough or you're not worthy, maybe your thoughts aren't like, oh, he's gonna cheat on me, or this specific thing's gonna happen. But if your state of being in relation to an area of life is that you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you don't feel confident in that area, you don't have that calm confidence in your own self, and you don't have that self-love or that relationship with yourself that you know you're inherently worthy no matter what, then it's going to manifest in that state of being in relation to whatever it is going to manifest in some way. It will eventually manifest in some way. So the inner conversations are important, and also your own state of being is important. I just wanted to make this video about how I manifested my breakup because I want to be completely, transparent with that part of my life, because, we have repeating patterns that usually stem from childhood, and if we're not feeling good enough, or we have that childhood trauma or childhood feeling from something that happened when we were younger, and now it's a repeating loop that goes on, in our adult life, and it will keep repeating until you shift from within, or until you learn the lesson and, you start to perceive life in a different way. And, instead of running away from the pattern or trying to cover it up or trying to get validation from outer sources, until you give yourself what that inner child is really needing, or, do some sort of self-work on yourself, that you can be aware of these patterns and really look at them, because it can be really, really ugly to look at these things. It's easier sometimes to just, try to fill that void with whatever people fill the void with, or, I'm guilty of this myself, like food, shopping, whatever it is, constantly trying to fill that void with outer things, until you realize that doesn't fix the root problem. It might make you feel okay in the moment, but until you fix that, not fix, you're not broken, but until you address it, if you've got like a repeating pattern that's going on. So I wanted to make this quick video about, the importance of not only your inner conversations, but also your state of being. So sometimes it's a case of, you just have to go through things to learn them. But if you listen to your thoughts and kind of detach from them, and, this is why meditation is a really good tool to be practicing every single day, because if you are so attached to your thoughts and the story that's going on in your head, it is just a story. And if you continue to tell that story, you will see it manifest in your 3D. So just being aware of that story, because you can change that story. You can change the way you perceive things. If you see something that triggers an emotional response inside of you from something that probably stems from childhood, if you can be aware of that and see, okay, I'm seeing this thing that's popping up and it's triggering me. Can I look at it in a different way? And can I, identify, what do I need right now? Because the trigger is just, it's poking at something there that needs to be healed. So if you can be aware of that, rather than so stuck in your thoughts and stuck in the story, if you can detach a little bit and say, okay, I'm aware that this is a story that's roots from such and such time in my life. How can I perceive this differently? And how can I change the story around this? And how can I, not get so carried away with how the 3D looks? Because how the 3D looks is temporary, and it can look completely different if you shift your perspective. Anyways, so change the story if it does not serve you. Listen to your thoughts. If you're, just observe them. What is that ego saying today? Because that ego will at times like to, be a little rude. So we can tell him or her to shut it. And I want to be clear that I am not perfect whatsoever. My patterns still come up. I'm still a work in progress myself, but if you can be aware of it and not let it take over your entire existence, then you will be better off. So as well, to continue on the story, after we did end up breaking up, he left me for somebody else, and it, sent me into this dark place in my life where I was serial dating and, trying to fill that void with searching for somebody to replace, that significant other and try to replace that feeling of being loved, because I did not feel loved. And it was miserable. I just was like constantly just dating and like, oh, is he gonna be the one? Is he gonna be the one? And just breaking down when it didn't work out, and like trying to make it like, oh, like seeing the best in, I mean, seeing the best in people is, I think it's a nice quality to have, but if you're just constantly like, oh, he could be the one, and it's putting so much pressure on a situation where, you know, the only reason I was doing that was because I felt unloved and not enough. So it took me many, many years to realize that isn't the way. But if you can come to the realization that you are inherently worthy within, regardless of if you're single, if you're in a relationship, regardless how much money is in your bank account, regardless of your job, I don't care what any of that is. All of us at our core are God or one consciousness or the universe. So all of that is just a story that our ego likes to cling to, that identity of all of these, you know, how outer appearances, and none of that matters. What matters is who you truly are underneath all of that. And the sooner that you can identify with God or being the universe or being, you know, something greater than just your human ego, the easier it is to detach from that ego mind and the story that keeps on looping, that sometimes can keep on looping in your mind. And yeah, one good tool that you can use to, you know, stop a repeating story is to write down the old story. And don't worry, like, you're not gonna manifest it, just to purge it out, kind of. This felt really good for me to do later on, not in that relationship, but in another situation. If you write down all of those thoughts that are just like banging around in your head, you know, to get them out onto paper, and it's like, okay, we're gonna pull them out of here and we're gonna put them on the paper, and it just feels good to just purge it out. I don't like this, I don't like when he does this, I don't like how this makes me feel, like whatever the situation is. I don't like that, you know, I only make this amount of money, and like just all your complaints. And make the decision that when you're writing that out, that's the last time that you're gonna think it, last time you're gonna say it. You're not gonna complain about it to anybody. It's like, okay, purging it out, and that's it. We're not gonna, this is like final. And you can burn it, but be careful. You can burn it, or you can crumple it up, or you can rip it up, or whatever. Just get rid of it. Like, finalize that, get it out of the way, and then rewrite that story, right? So everything that you just said, what is the story that you would prefer in this area? You know, there's no room for complaining or victim mentality. It's like, conceptualize the outcome that you would prefer, and that would be your dream outcome. What would that be? And feel inspired about it. Like, it's not a chore, like it's fun, right? It should be fun. And then write out your ideal story. So that's a good way to, you know, purge out the old story and stop repeating loops. And yeah, so I thought I would just make that quick video on how I manifested a breakup unconsciously, but looking back, it's quite obvious. And yes, I thank you for watching, and I will see you very soon in the next one. Okay, bye.